right. Hello. Hey, everyone hear me okay? All right, cool. Got an echo up here. Hi, welcome to Custom Maps and Location Analytics with Mapbox Mobile. I am your presenter, Brad Leege from Mapbox. So today we're just going to talk about using custom maps, being able to design your own custom maps, but then also be able to use them on mobile applications and as well as location analytics that you can get from using custom map stacks. So it'll be a little bit overview, high-level overview of how this stuff actually works, and then a little bit of a technical deep dive for actually, how stuff works. Then after that, I hope to have plenty of time available for questions and go from there. And then, as always, feel free to track me down in the hall or afterwards if you have any other questions you want, and we'll go from there. So anyway, so yeah, as I said, my name is Brad Leege. I am a mobile engineer at Mapbox. I'm originally from Madison, Wisconsin. That's where I live and work. For those of you who don't know, it's Mapbox is, or Madison is halfway between Washington, D.C. and San Francisco in the great flyover country. And I just hang a right at Lake Michigan, and I'm in that neck of the woods. And what I do is I work on our mobile tools and strategy, basically doing iOS and Android development for our tech stack. So Mapbox, though, is the next question. Maybe many of you have heard of, maybe you haven't. We build all open source and all open data technology for making custom maps. Our base level data is actually OpenStreetMap, which, if people haven't heard of it before, it's essentially the Wikipedia of mapping community. It's open to everyone in the world to be able to update and edit maps, whether it's roads or buildings or whatever infrastructure, hiking trails, oceans, you name it. It's a map of the world. What we do company-wise is we are an at-scale cloud hosting provider of that. We run completely off on AWS, Amazon Web Services. So we scale, I think we're in all 7 or 8 of the regions around the world. So no matter where you are in the world, your maps will run fast and quick and beautiful. As far as us, Mapbox was originally founded here in DC. It still is. It's at the corner of 14th and R, just east of DuPont Circle, I think. Get my directions directly. So we currently have 4 offices worldwide, and the rest of us all work remote, like myself. So yeah, so that's a little bit about who we are, or who I am, and who we are, and why we're doing this. So custom maps, why? Big reason, 3 big reasons on this subject matter. Is kind of a great example of this would be like if you're building an app where you want to build like a hiking app, per se, and the content of your map is very important to have, like hiking trails or biking trails, parks, rest areas, or especially if you're hiking, elevation lines. Those are the types of things you want to be able to control and be able to show, because that actually impacts your direct users as they're hiking around there, so that they actually know, okay, do I take path A, which goes this way, or path B, which goes this way, and being able to determine whether or not one has a 500-foot cliff and the other one doesn't kind of helps you figure that stuff out. So another thing that we use custom maps for is for great data visualization stuff. There's a great piece by our data analyst, or data artist actually, Eric Fisher, who just mapped all Skyhook Wireless Wi-Fi locations in the entire country. Amazing visualization to actually see the connection of where the internet actually is, piece by piece. So like what your phones are connecting to, what your phones are using to triangulate with in terms of location and stuff like that. So I definitely encourage you, if you haven't seen it, to head out to mapbox.com/blog and check it out. He just published it last week. It's absolutely gorgeous. And then finally, a third major reason why you want to have custom maps is for branding. A great example for a customer of ours that does this is Pinterest. They're able to take their brand that looks like a Pinterest map and extend it onto the map, so that no matter when people look at it, they immediately think, oh, this is a Pinterest thing, even though it's showing geographic information. And it's a way to be able to customize that on web across all the major platforms, web, iOS, and Android. So that's kind of some of the big reasons why you'd want to do a custom map and what we do and how we do that. So how you actually make a custom map and custom style, I guess is a better way to put it, is we have a tool called Mapbox Studio. As I was telling a gentleman earlier, it's the successor to something, a product called TileMill that maybe people might have heard of back in the day. Mapbox Studio allows you to go in and edit directly using HTML and hexadecimal codes to style your maps and color your maps as is, and then syncs it automatically up to the cloud, and you can make a change and have it updated momentarily. So that said, if you're not into custom styles or you don't have a need for one, we also do have regular stock styles that we make available for kind of common purposes. We've got our Mapbox Streets, which was kind of a similar one for, like, you know, what a city would look like or finding your way around. Emerald is kind of our base outdoorsy map. So if you want to make a trail map or, you know, do something for national parks, things like that. And then we also have dark and light styles for data visualization. And then finally, of course, we've got satellite, which we use a lot of USGS data as well as stuff from Digital Globe and a lot of the major satellite providers out there. So all that stuff. Finally, just a little bit of, you know, who actually uses us. Bunch of big names, Foursquare, GitHub, Square. We've been around for a while, and people are using us in a wide variety of use cases in a wide variety of places around the world. So anyway, start getting into the meat of the discussion here. Mapbox Mobile, what is it? What's it all about, and what's happening here? So this is basically our brand new platform this year that we're rolling out. It includes iOS and Android SDKs to be able to display these custom maps. But it also has a second component, which is that we provide location analytics in a way where we can actually tell you where your users are actually using your apps in a much more detailed and specific area with, so that it can actually help inform how you want to actually build your app and features that you may or may not want to put in, or challenge your assumptions on stuff like that. So get into the details here first. So the SDKs themselves, they all have a common C++ 14 OpenGL common base underneath the hood. So it's, you know, write once and then run it everywhere we're trying to. And then on top of that, we build platform-specific bindings. And of course, in the mobile world, that means we have Objective-C and Swift bindings for iOS apps. And for Android, we've got Java bindings. So it's just like working with any other Android library that you want. You download it off of Maven Central and hook it up, and away you go. It's also open source. That's a huge thing with Mapbox. All of our stuff is open source. And so you can see exactly how it works, all the way from the low-level C++ rendering and shaders, all the way back up to how we built the APIs in the Java or in the Objective-C++. It's all there, and we actually encourage people to come develop it with us, because we're the first to admit that we don't have all the good ideas in the world. So in all sincerity, we totally invite you to check it out, and you know, if you see something that you think you can do better, we would be glad to have your contributions. So just hit us up online and make suggestions. So finally, one last thing to kind of talk about this is a big transition for us in terms of using vector tiles. Okay, well, what's a vector tile, right? Traditionally, maps use something called raster tiles, which are basically, think of image files, right? Pings, GIFs, what have you. And the way maps used to be rendered is for every zoom level that you'd have one ping file per that zoom level. So when you went from one to another, there was a bit of a transition. As you had to swap out one layer, you had to wait for the other one to load in there. And so there was a kind of a dramatic visual effect that, okay, something's moving here, it just wasn't that smooth. So what vector tiles do is they are all data-based and send the data and describes what the tile should actually look like, colors, shapes, all sorts of good stuff like that, and then sends that data in a small compressed format, actually over using Google protobuffers to deliver it in a fast way to the device, and then the device uses its rendering API to then interpret that fast on the device and then display it for you. So, and that's actually what we were working on earlier today, trying to hook up the demo so I can show you guys in a little bit what it actually looks like in the fly. So, specifically, as I mentioned, Mapbox, we've got it for iOS and for Android. What iOS is, classic, easy setup, comes via CocoaPods. You can also roll your own because it's open source thing. Just, if you know how to use Make and all that good stuff, more power to you. But we do bundle it up and make it easily available to drop right into Xcode. And again, it works with Objective-C or Swift, so you should feel right at home. Mirrors MapKit, so to be able to swap one out and put the other one in should be relatively trivial, or at least that's our goal. So, and what it would look like is something like this. Using our base style, this was Mapbox Streets, just showing what Manhattan would look like. So, but I'm guessing this crowd is probably most interested in Mapbox for Android. So this is, as I was mentioned before, it's distributed as a Android library AAR file, distributed via Maven Central, so you can just pop it into your Gradle file or your Maven build file, whatever you use in Ivy if you wanted to, and pull it right on down. One major feature of ours is that it does not depend on Google Play services at all, which means that you don't have to worry about whether or not it's installed. You don't have to worry about a specific version of Google Play services having to run on there. We made a deliberate decision to do it that way so that it is completely independent. And then just, where the devices, we're currently at Ice Cream Sandwich and above. We could go lower, but based on the, I think we're at API 10 for the longest time, but then the last time we looked, it was like at 4%. And dropping rapidly, so we just made a decision that it was easier to go to Ice Cream Sandwich and stay at that level and above. But that said, if you want or you have a need to go lower, we have actually run it lower. We made a business decision there. So as far as APIs, again, it mirrors Google Maps. So if you're coming from the Android world and you're used to using Google Maps, you should be right at home. Trying out Mapbox Maps uses the same API naming conventions and whatnot. And there it is, actually running on an Android emulator. You can actually see we're over Portland using the Mapbox style. And then also we've got our directions API built into it, so you can actually find your way from your one location to and get routed all the way through. So very powerful stuff in terms of custom styles, whatever you want, custom data on top of that. But the best part that we're really excited about is it's free up to a point. 50,000 monthly active users. So this is basically put it in your app, test it out, play with it, ship it in your app. We've got people doing that, and it's going to be a long time. Hopefully, before you reach the 50,000 monthly active user level, you'll definitely know it ahead of time, and we're not going to penalize you for going over there. In fact, we're actually going to be pretty stoked about it. So, so basically what I'm saying is it's there to play with. Don't worry about money or cost being a barrier to entry. Come jump in the swim pool, and we'll work out the other stuff later. So, demo. This is the part, yes. All right, so I'm going to go disappear to the back and drive the screen, so I'll be right back. Thanks. Hey, there we go. So, as promised, here's a delivery. This is our internal test app. Boy, this is weird talking to you from all behind. That we're actually running the Android SDK on a Samsung S5 32-bit machine. So it's it's a widely used device out in the world. And I'll show you how it actually clicks on that, finds your location. So it seems to find us here in Western Washington, D.C., just above Dulles. And it rotates. You can see how it updates. That's all pulling data over Wi-Fi. It's all those protobufs that I was telling you about before that it can render on the fly. And then to show you the different styles, basically you can swap out on the fly what different styles look like. You can see different mountains and how that actually would be better for, whoops, what happened here? Exactly, too much awesome, that's. Yeah, it's doing both. There we go. Hey, we're back. All right. Thank you for your patience on this. This is a classic demo, right? So there's our example, and then also for data visualization, I was telling you about, we've got a white mode where you can then layer, do data visualization upon, Washington, D.C. Comes into those level of details. We also have a dark layer by default that, you can see how it'd be really great to use for a visualization, like where you're planting different things around the city or what have you. And then finally, we also have a satellite layer, which is raster tiles, so you can actually see, let's see, there's the Washington Monument, or there was the Washington Monument. So, all right, I think that's enough. I think you got the general point. All right, I'm back. So that's the front half. That's the API you can put into your own apps today and use whatever custom maps you want. Again, I just did the quick stock maps that if you don't want to do your own custom one, we do provide you with some pretty decent, nice ones right out of the gate. So anyway, the other half, which we're really excited about, is the location analytics part. And this is a part where we actually can show you where your users are actually using your app in a much more specific way, but yet also in a very private way. This is information that is your data, and it's only when I say it's your developer data. It's something that only you get to see, and we have and you get to control for your specific maps. We also offer device capability reports, so like, is it push notification friendly? What type of scale in terms of device density is it receiving? All sorts of good metrics, and especially in the Android community, as you know, how I won't use the F word. Many different devices are all over the place. You can try and get an idea of what your base customers or what your app users actually are using, so you can make decisions in future iterations on there. So again, it's just there to help empower you to know your users better. And then finally, the data that we do come in is anonymous and aggregated. We have no personally identifiable information, easy for me to say, in there, and we want to make sure that is the case. And it's also aggregated, so there's never a chance that anyone will have anything identity related at all. So, so what does this look like? This is the main dashboard for what it displays, and I'll step through each one of them individual to kind of help flesh out what it actually looks like. But as you can see on the left side, gives you a nice time range up in the upper left-hand corner, as well as some of those device characteristics. And then also on the right side is the location analytics, which we're told about. And this is helpful for a great percentage or a great use case of, jump into the next one specifically, looking at Los Angeles. Think of like a real estate app, right? You may have an idea of like where your customers are driving around looking at houses and whatnot, and they may say, oh, okay, I'm thinking I'm going to be in this neighborhood because this has got all the hot properties and this is where we're expecting people to be, but then you can actually see in the way your app is used, no, they're actually in 2 other neighborhoods something else away, so it kind of helps you get that real-time intelligence in terms of like what's actually happening and where things are going, as well as for other use cases, it just gives you a great insight into like what's actually happening. And the reason I use Los Angeles as a great case is because it's huge, right? I mean, a lot of location analytics tools just say you've got 30% of your users are using it in Los Angeles. Well, I think there's a difference between being in Santa Monica and being next to Pasadena, you know? And based on that, that's going to drive, again, give you more tools in terms of how your users are actually using your app and where they're using your app and why they're using your app. So again, empowers you as developers to make decisions on that in terms of features and what you would want. So the next one is, again, more slide information on this. Let's see. Yeah, talking about bands, wireless present penetration, landscape, swipes, how they're actually using your map and how they're actually using your app. So again, you get that real data in terms of you know what it looks like on the ground. So, and then finally, as I said before, it is your data. It's not ours. And as part of this, we give you the option to export all of your data, all your raw data, in CSV or JSON form at any time you want. So, and if you know, these are just our reports that we build by hand. And if you have like some of your own internal BI tools or whatever you use, or you just love playing with data, it's there to export it and ready for you whenever you want. So, yeah. Come. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. The question is, does Mapbox use this data? And the answer is yes. We use this for, as I mentioned earlier, our base data layer is OpenStreetMap, which is open source data, and this is why we're very picky about anonymous and aggregated data. So we take a lot of that location information and we scrub it, and then we use it to actually then contribute back to OpenStreetMap to make it a better map for other people. And a great example of this is part of the data that we collect would be like speed and orientation and stuff like that. So if you have an app walking down the street, you can judge by the speed whether or not it's a car, and if it is, it's always going in one direction, so maybe that might be like a one-way street, or people are always turning in a certain area, and so it helps us better improve the OpenStreetMap community. And again, that's stuff that then benefits everybody, because OpenStreetMap, it's not Mapbox. We just use it just like everybody else in the world is free to use it, so it's kind of our contribution back to it that makes everything better. So I hope. Yep. Nope. We're happy to talk about it. But yeah, that is. But it is your data, but we do borrow it for the benefit of everybody in the world. It also helps for like finding like hiking trails, because you know, the only people that are actually going to find hiking trails are people carrying a smartphone up the side of a mountain, right? You know, and you get that location data back. Sure. Another question.
But that's actually not for that time. It's just, do you support offline maps? You know, you mentioned like national parks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the service in national parks. National parks is indoor, like cabins and stuff. Those are mapped.
Yeah, the places where even the Verizon guy can't hear you now, right? Yeah, absolutely. Right now, our tech is, we don't have it built into there yet. Our previous SDKs did, and it's a core feature of ours. We just haven't built it yet. It's on the roadmap to do later this year, and we want to have it. So that's a yes and a no, I guess. Exactly.
So not yet, but hopefully soon?
Exactly, that's the answer. Real soon. And like I said, hey, it's open source, and we love pull requests. So if people want to help, by all means, we definitely would encourage it. So yeah.
Quick business question. How does Mapbox monetize? How do you make money? So you're still around.
A very good point. I like my job, and I want to continue doing my job. No, how we make money, we monetize based off of API calls for like some of our geocoding and our directions APIs, as well as for like our web maps. We also do enterprise deals. You can install our infrastructure on AWS to run on your own cloud, or you can run it from our cloud. We're basically a Lego company is the way to think about it. Is we have a bunch of different tools, and we're there to help you combine them in a way that helps you solve your problem. So each one of them has a different thing, as well as I said before, once you get over that 50,000 monthly user account, we'll probably have a little discussion about stuff. So finally, in closing, yeah, vector tiles, they're on-device rendering, and they're here. We saw it thanks to the AV guys helping out and making that possible, and you saw how fast it works and how it can change styles and be dynamic on the fly. And as we just kind of alluded to, there's a zillion different use cases. We think we've got a good handle on some of them, but Lord knows we don't know them all, and we'd love to work with people who have other ways to do creative, fun things with maps. So. And finally, as I said before, hackers welcome. I mean, we are an open source, open data company. We work in the open. Everything you see is all on GitHub. Don't be intimidated or feel like you can't contribute or anything like that. Just go to any one of these repos, jump on there, ask a question, make a pull request, say, hey, I've got something to do this. You will not get yelled at. You will not get mocked. We actually really value working with people in the community. We basically look at it ourselves as we get paid to work on open source, and so we love doing that with whoever and wants to work on it with us. So finally, yeah, questions. We've had a couple, but any more? Mm-hmm.
Is that neighborhood the circle that you would be able to see, or will you be able to actually see the coordinate of where?
We're not going to show you that level. I'll actually back up in the thing to kind of, let's see, is that the one up there? Exactly, yeah. We'll show you like neighborhood or maybe down to like a few blocks. I think we're still iterating on how far we'll actually let it go in there, but that's personal, private information we don't want. It's just not something we feel comfortable doing. But in terms of being able to derive useful information from that level. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So when you do download the data or location gives a coordinate plus a radius or an arrow mount or what
Mm-hmm.
form of the data you get about location you download?
Mm-hmm. So that would be a way, I guess, to come back to your question, is you can have that information, but we're not going to provide the visualization for that.
Gives an X, Y, and Z coordinate plus some error analysis or within the area, or how do you represent location in the data?
Exactly, lat-lon and error basis. Actually, I could find out for you. It's a good question. I haven't looked in a while. But yeah, I believe it is lat-lon coordinates as well as error location data, because when we grab the location from iOS, for example, you'll have horizontal and vertical accuracy flags. So it's a coordinate based on that with that information. So it's kind of our best knowledge.
Any further obfuscate that location you downloaded data?
That's a good question. I don't know offhand, and it's something I could find out for you if you're interested.
If I could find out by trying to use it correctly.
There's that way too.
So
Yep.
as far as analytics is concerned, like can I do a query, like what is the most popular place on such and such day, or what events are happening in geographical area, or
Yeah, actually. Let me jump back here. You can see in the upper, is my mouse pointer showing up or not? Not really. I'll just jump over here. Currently, the only area that actually is queryable is the date range. And you just slide that back and forth, and that'll update location based off of that. Again, this is something that we just released a couple of months ago, and we're looking to iterate on it and continue to grow better. So if there, we'd love to have feedback. If you have more things you'd love to see in it, by all means, we're always willing to listen to requests and talk things through. So, yeah.
I see that you capture a lot of values. Is there a way to select which ones I want you to capture?
Come again?
I see that you're capturing a lot of values.
Mm-hmm.
Radio, orientation. Is there a way for me to select which one I want you to capture?
No, by default, we grab them all, and you can see actually in the source code which ones we grab, and then that would be something where being able to download it and then be able to run it through whatever tool you want to be able to slice and dice it to answer your questions. So, wrap it up. Yep, go ahead.
How do you determine your zones?
Your zones? Right now, those are zoom levels.
Specific zones or
I don't believe they're.
arbitrary grids that may not correspond?
I think it's more the arbitrary grid thing at different zoom levels, because at different zoom levels you get certain number of squares that actually are used to actually render the tile. So I believe that goes down to like zoom level 14 on there. I'm told I'm supposed to wrap it up here. Again, as I mentioned before, please track me down in the hallway or even afterwards. Love to talk about stuff over coffee. One last thing I'd love to say before, come build with us, man. Like I said, we're an open source company. Everything's out there. Come hack with us. Come talk to us. You know, we're down in the DC U Street corridor. Stop by for a beer. You know. We love meeting people. We love working with people, and love tossing out new ideas. And finally, here's our information. Feel free to reach out to me via email or on Twitter, and go from there. So, thanks again for having me, and.